Well, what you're about to hear is some interesting content that came from a seed that was planted by the one and only most interviewed hunter in Australia, Cody. His seed was that the podcasting community of Australia get together. We did that. And what he assembled was a team consisting of Get Outdoors with Drew and Cam, Carly from Women Who Hunt, Zach from Hunting Connections podcast, Maxwell from In the Dark and the Bullet Point podcast, Tobias, Australian Hunting Backcountry podcast, Lawson from Nature's Perks, and we also had Luke from the Hunting Republic podcast on, although he had some audio issues and couldn't get involved. And someone else who jumped on halfway through or a third of the way through, and it's a really important voice in this space, one of the OGs of what we do, Jason Selms from from the Australian Hunting podcast, and then myself from Wild Origins podcast. What you're about to hear isn't the most amazing audio you've ever heard. It isn't the best edited podcast you've ever heard. But I'll tell you what it is. It is a bunch of people, a room full of like-minded individuals that came together to create some unity in our community. We joined together, we spoke, we connected, we shared stories, we shared opinions, we shared viewpoints, and what we could all agree on was the state of the country we're living in right now, with the way things are changing so fast, is a tricky and developing world. It's a tricky space for our industry. And one thing we need to be conscious of, we all agree on this, is how we come together and gel in this time. What we do in the next coming months is going to be very important for the future of our industry. It's going to be very important for my kids, their kids, and beyond that. So I ask you all to listen, to think, to share, to check on your mates, to give them a ring and see how they're going. Because this is a tough time and this is a tough environment. We did aim to get this podcast out a little sooner, but due to the intricacies of having so many people recorded at one time, the result was over 60 gig of download and a lot of editing just to get it to the point where things lined up. Now, unfortunately, in that process, we lost audio from Carly about a quarter of the way through, a third of the way through. And I'd ask that you go and visit Carly's channel, Women Who Hunt, because the things that she said were amazing. And they were great points and great responses. So I'm extremely devastated that that has happened. And unfortunately, it's not something we could pull back. So I'm sorry to you, Carly, and I'm sorry to those that listen that miss out on that. But please go and listen to her other podcasts that are out there, because you'll see the same answers. Again, unity in strength. A call to action to you guys is to sign the petitions, to write the letters, to remain in touch with your friends, and be strong. I hope you enjoy this episode. United, we stand. This is a little bit different tonight. You're going to cop a lot of different voices, but the reason we're all here is to bring each other together on a united front to talk about something that affects all of us. I'm Dodge from Wild Origins Australia. We've got a whole host of Australian podcasters come together. This was the brainchild of Mr. Cody, probably the one of the most prevalent guests on podcasts in Australia. I'm going to ask Cody to say something first. We're going to move around the room and everyone's going to have a little introduction and I'll finish with myself, and then we'll get into tonight's conversation. So welcome, team, and thanks for jumping on together.
Thanks for having us, Dodge.
Yep. Thanks for everyone or the podcast for teaming up and joining us here tonight. I'm Cody Gearin. I'm a hunter and farmer and factory worker from New South Wales. And I had an idea to try to unite the community and get our voices out there, and the voices that we all hear quite often while we're driving to work or sitting back and relaxing or doing chores about the house. I thought we could all share our unique abilities to just share and get our words out. And yeah, it's as simple as that, really.
Sorry, do you want to go around the screen, Drew? You're next.
Yeah, mate. It's Drew from Get Outdoors with Drew and Cam. We're a podcast that is trying to encourage everybody to get off the couch. Cam and I are both hunters, fishers, hikers, family men. We've been doing this for, I don't know, I think 7 months, isn't it, Cam?
Yeah, it's something along those lines.
Yep. And we're finding a really good response, and because we're both avid hunters, we're involved and following the industry quite close, and that's where we stand.
It's going to affect all of us.
Definitely.
Cam, do you want to follow up from that?
Yeah, mate. Look, I've been an avid hunter and outdoor enthusiast for many years now, and this is something that's going to affect all of us, like I've already said. I remember, I was young enough to remember when it all happened through in 96, watching my relatives go through the hand-in process and the like. So, mate, this is our turn to sort of stand up and try and have a bit of a say in regards to this. So, yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity to come on board with all of this.
Carly, you're next.
I'm Carly. I'm from Women Who Hunt. So, just giving the ladies of the community a voice. I'm a mum. I'm a hunter, and I'm raising a young hunter as well. And it's really just about a lot of these proposed things will impact my family and the next generation coming through. So it's really just about having a voice for everybody and showing what an inclusive community we do have in this firearm community that we've all part of.
Thanks, Carly.
Yeah,
Zach, sorry.
I was
You go
going to jump in. Carly's next on my screen. Maxwell from In the Dark and the Bullet Points podcast. So I'm a late onset hunter, been hunting for probably about 10 years now. And a lot of thermal and night shooting, and that also done a lot of target shooting, and seeing the regulations that are coming out in New South Wales is going to be massively affecting that community as well as hunting. So yeah, here to sort of put a voice out for all the target shooters as well.
Tobias.
Thanks, Dodge. Tobias from Australian Hunting Backcountry. I've been doing my podcast now for about 2.5 years. Have been shooting and hunting since I was pre-teen. I'm now involved in the firearms industry, and something else about me which I don't talk about at all is I was a Queensland police officer for nearly 21 years.
All right, Lawson.
My name's Lawson. I run Nature's Perks with my business partner. We do everything from guided hunts to hunting courses to giveaways. I've been in the hunting industry for quite a while now. I've been a guide for about 10 years. I also work in the industry selling firearms and much, much more. So I'm here to say my share on the whole situation. It's very stressful for myself because this is my living. This is pretty much everything we been put towards for the last many, many years. And thanks for sorting this out, Cody.
And Zach, to close us off, who's probably the longest running podcaster out of all the people here, I'd say.
That's scary for everyone to hear. Zach from Hunting Connection Podcast, avid hunter, fisherman, outdoorsman, been hunting ever since I can remember. Started with my grandfather. I hunt with my kids now, and I love podcasting and bringing the community together. And most of you guys and girls have been on the podcast, and so I'm here to fight and make a stand against the proposed laws in New South Wales and around Australia.
Right now, I'm Dodge, Wild Origins Australia podcast. It's not my first podcast, had some others. And when got picked up by Blood Origins, and the question was, would we like to do a Blood Origins Foundation one in Australia? I jumped on that and said, why not? So we're a conservation-based community and really just focusing at the moment on what's going on here in Australia and the problems we're all facing. And I think this is a great opportunity to show some unity, to show some gel. This community can get together, can work together, and can be a team, whether we're, like Maxwell said, whether we're sporting shooters, target shooters, hunters, archery shooters, we're all here for one purpose, and that's to continue what we do until our children can pass it on to their children's children. So I don't know if everyone's okay with me sharing my condolences, and the whole reason we're here is because of a tragic event that has brought this around, and I can remember seeing it pop up in the news, and I couldn't fathom what was happening. I'm like, this doesn't happen here in Australia. This is just a disgusting act from two sick people that it was unfathomable for me. I wasn't around when 96 happened. I mean, I was alive. I wasn't involved in firearms. So for me, this is my first time really experiencing that on home soil, and that hurts. It was hard to watch. I don't know if anyone wants to jump in and add anything to that.
It's been a very hard week. I just finished recording a podcast, and when I jumped off, that was the first thing that I've seen all over social media Sunday night a week ago. And yeah, just seeing everything that was happening, seeing all the raw footage. Unfortunately, that's something about social media these days is everything gets shared straight away. So we were seeing everything as soon as it was happening, and just unfortunately all the hate that's being spread around all the communities, and that's what we're trying to combat here by bringing everyone together. And it's just no matter what our background is, we're all into hunting and fishing in the outdoors, and we all need to respect each other to keep this passion going.
I was old enough, or I am old enough to have been through the aftermath of 96. Obviously, the world back then was a very different place. We didn't have social media, so we didn't have, the almost live footage being broadcast to us and so forth. So we were reading about it afterwards, or it was on the 6 o'clock news that night and that sort of thing. But I saw the effects of the buyback then, the fallout, and obviously the nonsensical firearms laws that then followed, which we are still suffering with today through legislation that doesn't work, ineffective government departments, and just, like I said, nonsensical bans, and then the whole gun buyback. And friends of mine were affected in the gun buyback where they were not fairly treated. And that's one of the things that definitely concerns me about this, particularly the New South Wales proposal, where they're going to remove the right of appeal, because during the last buyback, you had two courses basically, so you could appeal the financial decision, and then after that it was on you to take it civilly. So for me it's a real concern, because I've seen what happened, how we were treated. Yes, the world was a very different place back then, but everybody, I guess the point that I want to get across here really to everybody is that regardless of whether you are a target shooter with your 22 or a skeet shooter or somebody who hunts with a compound bow, you all need to be concerned about this potential legislation and the changes, because it might not affect you today, but I can guarantee you down the track, they will be coming for you.
That's a very valid point.
My wife and I, we both shoot competition, and we've just introduced my 12-year-old daughter, 13 now, into target shooting as well. If they were talking about those reduction in the amount of firearms they can keep, 4 rifles won't cover the disciplines we shoot, and then still wouldn't allow to cover out in the field either. I mean, if you carry shotgun 22, 223 as a minimum, and then a 308, you're out of the game. And then if you're talking about lever action you're talking about field rifle, any of these others, you're straight away out of the game. And I think Cody or Dodge, you were saying earlier that they're taking away the right of appeal. Reading the proposal they were talking about, you could apply to have extras, but it stated in there elite shooters only. I believe it was under the discretion of the Commissioner of Police. So I mean that makes an exclusion for just about everybody, no matter what, unless you're an Olympic shooter.
Yeah, we're in the same boat here. So we do competition shooting. So there's myself, my husband, and our 16-year-old son. And I know that a lot of you all are in the same boat, and that the firearm number limit, it's just not viable for us because we are hunters and we are also competition shooters. And effectively, if all of the proposed 10-point plans are implemented, that pretty much just limits it wipes those pathways out, and our son, who's been working at this since he was 12, pretty much the thing that he wants to do and his passion, every avenue to pursue that is taken away. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that's the biggest concern. It's the legacy that's not going to be able to be passed down from generation to generation. So it's not really my generation that I'm concerned about. It's the future generations that we're robbing them of these skills and these traditions by a red pen.
The hardest
I
thing
think
too I'm looking
as
at, was it's also going to come down to like an animal welfare issue if you look at it, because we're talking about a maximum of 4 firearms, right? So you look for your legal requirements for Samba Red, you're 270 plus. Your fallow hog deer chittle, you're 243. So there's 2 done. Then you're a duck shooter or a quail shooter. There's your shotgun. Then you've got to make the decision: are you going to be smoking rabbits with a 223 or not? It's going to have to look at that sort of stuff at the same time. It's a bit hard to gauge it. I think that it's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction in a way, and they haven't thought this side of it through properly.
I think that's very obvious, and that was very obvious in the '96 legislation that came about, was that this was legislation written by people that have absolutely zero understanding of actual working firearms and how they're used in a real world situation. I mean, we've all joked about the comment belt fed magazine fed shotguns. Like a simple Google search for the Premier of New South Wales to come out and say that is simply embarrassing. It's woeful. So once again, we're the ones that are going to have to bear the brunt of bureaucrats that can't be bothered doing a job properly and actually coming out and talking to stakeholders and working out what path they want to try and pick, rather than let's just do a blanket ban on everything that we think is going to grab a headline and appease the people.
Yeah, it's quite a scary concept, really, that they can just instantly say, okay, that's it. We're going to limit what you can have, and that's that. And especially the right of taking guns without appeal. Like if you look at some competition shooters, myself included, I've got a $15,000 competition rifle. And it's like, well, I've got 10 other rifles. I'm also a contract shooter. I cover my contract shooting stuff with a few of my rifles. I can't cover some of my private shooting with some of my other rifles, and I cover my competition shooting with my competition shooting rifles. If I was suddenly limited to 4, there's no way that I could work, do competitions, and go shoot shotguns with my mates in the field or whatever that I choose to do in my private time. And it's quite a scary concept that they can just knee-jerk reaction this and just say that's that. So I really hope that we do see the public standing up for us, as well as all the firearms owners in Australia. And I think a big thing is, if you've ever thought about getting your firearms license, or your wife doesn't have a firearms license, you should go and get them their firearms license.
I think one thing.
Dodge. Yeah, the one thing that's being shared right now is that the limit of firearms is no good, and you're seeing a lot of stuff on Facebook from the government, from just everyday people. Why do you need that many firearms? At the end of the day, it's like a golfer has a caddy of different golf clubs. Each one has their individual purpose. Whether you've got 322s, each one of them would have their own specific purpose. Whether it's, you've got iron sights on one, you've got, thermals on another, a typical scope on the other one, and then you've got a variety of rifles for small game, big game, ducks, rabbits, competition, everything. We need this caddy of firearms that we have because each one serves a purpose. Even if it doesn't serve a particular purpose, but there's a lot of hand-me-downs from dads, grandparents, great grandparents. There's a lot of people with rifles that are, over 100 years old and they've been to, a few wars. They've got stories, they've got memories embedded in these firearms. It's like car collectors. Why does someone need to collect cars? Because they like them. There's like a artsy side of it. It's the same with rifles. We There shouldn't be limits on this type of thing, and it's just ridiculous that these things are being pushed out there.
I think a really hard part we've got with our industry as well is there was a news article that was released like in the last 48 hours, I believe, that they were saying that there is a New South Wales Sydney resident with over 300 firearms in his collection. And it was massive wording. I mean, we're by rights, I suppose, we're the ugly stepchild of media now, but when you've got the media trying to beat it up harder than trying to beat a dead horse, basically, trying to instill the scare on top of everything, and your average Joe probably doesn't look at Facebook like they should. They're happy to take what they read as gospel. We're automatically tagged as criminals until we can prove ourselves the other way around. Like, we're far from it. We have to abide by many more laws than the average person. I mean, we're all shooters. We all understand that. But then when you've got the media trying to beat it as well, how do you try and beat the media at their game to prove that we're not? And I guess putting this podcast together, we can show that we're actually, from around Australia, we're a diverse, different group. And we're able to say, look, none of us we're not allowed to even, you're accused of doing something wrong. We lose our firearms. And then you have to prove yourself right. I mean, this is probably the hardest part that we've got as owners of firearms. And then, our mate Elbow comes out and go from
That's
there.
exactly right. It's one of the only legislations in Australia where you are guilty until you prove your innocence. Terrorism laws are one of the only other ones. So the commissioner, the authorised officer in whatever state that runs the weapon licensing branch can use whatever information they deem necessary to suspend or revoke your firearms license, and then you have to take them to court and disprove it.
Yep.
I think the tricky part about that is in Australia, having a firearms license is not a right. It's a privilege.
Yes.
So then, as you say to your kids, you don't have a right to that. It's a privilege to do that. That can be taken away from you, and that's what they're trying to exercise now.
I feel the hardest part with that is too, like looking at some of the proposed changes when they're talking about this national registry. I understand that Victoria doesn't talk to New South Wales and vice versa in regards to who owns what. So I think some of the changes might be a handy thing, a national registry where they know who's what and who's got what. Look, that will play in all right, but it's the other stuff that they're going to try and bring in. The national thing should have been done years ago, because I know as a person that goes from Victoria to New South Wales every so often shooting, I take a photocopy of my firearms registration papers so I can prove that I'm the owner of that firearm. And that's the thing the national thing would bring. But it's also the data leak issues that came with it too. We had a data breach here in Victoria in regards to storage addresses and alike. This is something else they're talking about, having the gun, what is it they're calling it, gun safe online platform. I think that's the similar thing to what they're bringing in WA, where there's an app that you have to check in on. I think that's a bit far-fetched, to be honest, and a bit of an overreach, but this is just me and my personal opinions at the same time, unfortunately.
I did hear someone talking the other day about the possibility of them bringing in registrations for barrels, stocks, and other firearms componentry, and that'd just be an absolute nightmare if you have a registry that you want to sell a stock to someone because you're going to change to the new model, that you've got to put in a PTA or whatever to send a stock off. I think it's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, because like you said, they're going to pull in all this other junk that's not really going to change anything and make anything safer. It's just going to make it more complicated.
And the weapons licensing branches are already understaffed, undertrained, overworked, under-resourced. They can barely manage. In fact, I might even accuse them of being currently not even able to manage the workload that they have, and they're going to potentially quadruple it by doing that. Where's all this funding coming from as well?
We're seeing that.
Well, when you mentioned that, Tobias, I know. Sorry, Zach. When I've had a safe inspection for my firearms as part of their requirement here in Victoria, I've had uniform officers turn up, not even sure what they're looking at, and ticking it off on the piece of paper to the registration numbers. It's a bit of a hard thing for them to look at it and be able to say, yes, I know what I'm looking at, rather than just ticking the piece of paper. So,
and we've had many customers at the shop that we work at, and they say exactly the same thing. They've come in, they're saying, to the client or the customer, the person they're checking the safe on, you need to take the bolt out of that gun. It's a lever action. So, I think maybe the police need a little bit more training as well. But it's pretty sad to hear that kind of, we get that quite commonly, that we hear that they're doing a safe inspection and they have no idea what they're looking at.
All right, before we go on a bit further.
Sorry, Dodge, you're right.
Yeah, before we go, we've had someone just jump on. Now, I have to reclassify what I said earlier. I said that Zach is probably our most experienced podcaster in this chat right now. But someone has just walked in the room that kicks us all out by about 27 years, I think. Welcome to the room, Jason. Can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry, guys. No, Zach's way better anyway.
Not better looking, that's for sure. Welcome to the podcast, Jason from...
I think he's definitely better looking and more experienced, definitely.
Jason from Australian Hunting Podcast, one of the OGs, or probably the OG podcaster in Australia. You've missed all the introductions. Go for it. Tell us... No, it's all good. Welcome. You were one of the first...
Sorry, I was just driving. My parents live north of Sydney, so I had to drive up today about 4 hours. So, I'm just looking at this stuff. It's some of the... Wow. I don't even know what to say, man. I've never been... I think if you guys haven't been online, I think someone just released the draft about an hour ago. If you haven't seen it, it's one of the worst things I've seen, man. PCP air rifles, straight pulls, lever action, it's all gone, man. So, I don't know. I heard yesterday they're possibly, I don't know if you guys know any different, maybe you might be able to add, but they're two votes down at the moment. That's what I've been hearing. So that's obviously not good. So if it's 2 votes down, you can consider it to be basically game over at this point, unless something drastically changes. But, I don't know how they're going to ram it through tomorrow. That's or the next couple of days, because they need to do certain things. So I don't know if they're going to have time to do it, especially when people are going to be giving their point of view. It needs to be debated. So I don't know and if there's any special, what would you call it? Not privileges, but special things they can do to try and ram it through. I don't know in that respect, but it's bad, man, really bad. Like even I'm sitting there going, like, what about people that have got like pistols? What about people that have do different types of stuff, long range shooting, shotguns? How are you going to do this on 4 guns, man? And what's going to be the criteria for the 10 guns, even for a lot of people? Like I got guys ringing me the other day saying they've got 45 guns. And they're not cheap guns. A lot of them are Tikkas and this guy doesn't have anything other than Swarovski on his guns, and he's got 45 at about $6,500 a pop per rig. That's 240 grand, man. Like, how are you going to get the money back for this shit? You know what I mean? How are you going to? That's just one part of it. I'm not even talking about the money right now. It's just I don't know.
And that's the thing, Jason. They won't pay us fairly for these things. They didn't the last time, and they won't do it again. They'll look at accessories and say, "Sorry, we're not paying for it," or you can sell it on the private market. That's an us problem. That won't be a them problem.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, man. I don't even know what to say at this point, man. Like I've got this Bluetooth headset on, man. I can normally charge it every 2 days. I've been charging 3, 4 times a day just talking to people, and you know, and just got to be careful about what we say online sometimes. I know I can be a bit full on, but I've tried to calm it down just a little bit, within reason, because they are looking at people, man. Like when you stick your head up, you got to be careful, man. Like I always say, try and sign off with, remain calm. Those sort of things just keeps the heat off you, because a lot of us want to say, oh, trust me, I want to say some things. Don't worry about that, but I've got to keep it in check. You know what I mean? So you've got to do the right
I know
thing.
how you're feeling. My phone's been blowing up since it happened too, and to the point where I nearly have to turn notifications off just to work during the day because certain
Yeah,
chat groups are just going, and none of it is exciting. Like it's all. I'm reluctant to say depressing and mental health thing. Like you don't want to say those things in the current world because it's another reason for them to take guns off you. But it
exactly.
it eats at you when you don't have an opportunity to not think about something, and that's all. I'm in an industry, few of you guys are too, where this will not only hurt us as a hobby, but financially. This is business. This is a small business for me, but it's a bigger business for a lot of people. I always take the opportunity to talk to people who aren't hunters, whether it be on a plane, talk to anyone at the shops or a customer with my day-to-day job. And I had one bring it up just yesterday, and I used an analogy that I've been using for years. And the question from this lady was, why do you need so many guns? And I told her how many I have. It's more than 10. And her husband is a Harley builder, maker, custom stuff in his garage. And I said, how many cars have you got registered at this address? And she's like, oh, 13 or so. I said, how many do you drive? Oh, we got this for that and this for that, and that's for that occasion. So my analogy is the golfing analogy. You can't play golf with one club. You need your putter, your drive, your wedges, your different irons. You can't do what we do with 3 or 4 firearms, and then add on that a second person. Roy Butler, the member for Barwon, was saying that his firearms are sized for his children because they are kids. They have shorter stocks, different scope setups. You can't just it's not a one size fits all situation, but just having these discussions in my day to day life outside of my normal circle has shown me a greater understanding and willingness to understand that I hadn't seen prior from people outside our circle. You've got the Jewish community coming out and saying it's not a gun thing. You've got John Howard saying, guys, settle down. I did what I did, but you don't need to do it right now. Like, to hear that from him, that was surprising.
Unfortunately, with
Yeah, I think the general consensus out there on social media and so forth has been a lot of people are recognizing that it's not a gun problem. It's not a firearm issue. It relates to the people who were wielding that tool at the time. Had they not had access to firearms, and we've seen this before, they would have used a vehicle, or they would have used an explosive device, or they would have used knives or machetes or something like that. It just so happens that they had access to that at the time because they manipulated the system and they were allowed to. And I don't want to go too deep into the reasons why that happened, because that's not the direction we want this podcast to go, I don't feel. But it's easy, it's very easy for the government to then turn around and say, bang, there's the quick fix to the issue. And I can look good doing it and appeal to a majority of voters, because at the end of the day, politicians just care about getting in the next term.
Yeah, 100%. Unfortunately, with old Johnny Howard, I think it's more of an ego thing than anything is the reason he's stepped out instead. He doesn't want his firearm laws overruled and overshadowed with the new ones. And that's what it comes down to a lot of the time as well in our community is ego. So we've seen WA fall to limit strict firearms laws this past year, and they weren't able to do anything. And unfortunately, that's come down to a lot of ego within the shooting and hunting community, and people not being able to put their egos aside to work together to get things done. And also, that was said earlier, is police understanding of how firearms work and what's going on with firearms. So here in South Australia, our firearms branch is ran by 2, maybe 3 people at the moment, and we're seeing delays of PTAs 8 to 12 weeks we're seeing licenses renewals 12, 14, 16, 18 weeks before people are getting their physical license. And it's crazy. If you've got your digital license, which is another big thing, you get it back quicker. But if you're waiting on that physical card, you're looking, 4 months before you're getting a physical card back. So they're going to introduce these new firearms laws on an already poor system with people who are struggling as it is, who have no understanding how firearms work. It's just going to be a terrible, terrible thing. And my understanding of policing in South Australia is they only have to do one shoot a year when it comes to using their firearms. And even then, speaking to a family member who's a police officer today, he was saying that they don't have their own firearms. They just get given one each day that they have their shift. So they're not even trained to the firearm that they're using every day. They've got no idea on how that particular handgun works. So it just blows my mind that the people that are bringing in laws and enforcing the laws have no clue when it comes to firearm safety or anything.
And another thing to be wary of within our own community is that back when Johnny Howard had his little stunt, people just sort of bowed down and said, "Yeah, no, like we'll be good little boys and girls and do what you say." That is not something that needs to happen now. Like a farmer doesn't need to go, "Well, these new changes don't really affect me because I'm a primary producer, so look, I still got what I need." Like if you give them what they want, they'll go, "Well, maybe you don't need that many. Maybe you don't need that type of firearm to do cattle work, or you don't need that to control roos and pigs. In fact, you shouldn't be shooting at roos at all. So maybe you shouldn't just have guns in general. Like, keep taking wherever they can." So those in the community that want to be like, "Yeah, no, just we'll agree to the laws or we'll agree to the changes. We'll hand our guns in." Like, that's not the way to go.
I think that was one of the tricks. Sorry, Cody. Yeah, that was one of the tricks they did back in '96. Was they said they're only going to target certain types of firearms, like semi-automatics, pump-action shotguns, that sort of thing. So what we saw was different sectors of the shooting community duck down behind the barricade and go, "Okay, well, I only shoot target 22s at the range on the weekend, or I only shoot my double barrel shotgun at clay targets. So these changes are not going to affect me. So I'm going to remain silent, and that way I won't catch any shrapnel, and I'm still going to get to maintain the lifestyle that I want." And they by targeting these different styles of weapons, they're trying to do that again. They're trying to divide us as a community. And that's the main message that I really want to get across out of this podcast, is that we all need to stay together. Unity is strength, regardless of what you do, whether you own a 10 rifles, one rifle, whether you own a compound bow, whether you're a fisherman, four-wheel driver, whatever it is. We all need to join together and just put on a display to the government, let them know that we will not tolerate this, and it's going to cost them at the next election or whatever other lawful means we have at our disposal.
I'll happily put my hand up and say, probably a bit, not being there for 96, I've probably been a bit complacent in the thought that, like, they did take away some guns, but at least we've got some now, and that, we use, because that's all I've known. I didn't know what it was before. And I think Cody said it just before we recorded. I actually wrote it down. They didn't have podcasts in 1996. I mean, Jason probably started in 1997, but in 1996, they didn't have them. And
I'm not that old.
the strength in unity here is to get this across to people. So, like I was saying, prior to being in the industry as I am now, I was probably a little bit on the back seat of just taking the pedal off a bit and cruising with what I had access to and what I could enjoy. But now, like, just seeing all these people sending letters, contacting their members for parliament from every area of our industry. Bow hunters are into it. Pig doggers are into it. Four-wheel drivers are into it. It's all overlapping. It's all interconnecting.
I think we have a small part of a problem being Australians that it's starting to fade out. I think Tobias and I wouldn't be too far off each other in age. I remember at the time when all the changes happened with Howard. I remember the famous picture of Howard standing there with his hands up in the air, and you could make the outline of his bulletproof vest in the back of his suit. And he was saying that I'm with you guys. I'm doing this for to make sure everyone's safe. And it was a very small protest. To look at the photo, I think it looked like it might have been 500-600 people. Could have been bigger. But as Australians, we seem to sit back, and I think you mentioned it a bit earlier, or I can't remember who mentioned it, but everyone stood back and it went, it doesn't affect us, so we're not going to stand up and rattle the cage. As Australians, we're more relaxed until now's the time that we need to make that push into a shove. The generations moved on from what was adults in the 90s. We're now, 30 years later, that now the younger people coming up are listening to Greens and stuff because they're told that they've got to protect the environment and they've got to protect the carbon gases and all that kind of stuff. But they're not talking about protecting the environment from foxes or introduced species that the government introduced, all this kind of stuff. And then they're trying to bait them and they're doing aerial shooting and all this kind of stuff. And we all stand back and go, yeah, that's cool. But where's the difference being made? And we're trying to do that from our pocket, and it's our identity as hunters, fishers. It's not just a hobby that we look at and go, yeah, cool. I mean, you guys all probably have taken a decent buck. I take a lot of rabbits with my daughters 15, 20 minutes from my home. Shared them with Cam. Cam shares his deer with me. It's all part of that industry. It becomes your identity, and now they're trying to strip us of that identity. And I think we all agree that we need to stand up and go, hang on, we're Aussies. We love what we do. We're not criminals. How about you listen to somebody about what you're trying to do?
So dating myself a little bit, 96, I was 3 when those laws were brought in. I don't remember too much about the before to after stuff, but growing up with my grandpa and going shooting with him every fortnight as a young child from 3 years old, my distaste for the government started then because of me seeing how he had to hand over multiple firearms, handguns, and everything. And then from then, it was just every other year was a different firearm he had to give up due to laws coming in. So I was 3, and my distaste and my distrust of the government started then on this stuff. And we're already seeing now, my son, as bad as it sounds, he doesn't trust the government because he knows that they took bow hunting away from us, and he hates it. And he goes and tells his teachers, he goes, "I don't like the government. They took away bow hunting." And then it's just one of those things. It's just they're building distrust in the government by doing this type of thing. It's horrible.
Yeah, I think the big thing is just as Valtteri Bottas likes to say, if anyone's an F1 fan, what's next? Is what it comes down to. It's like, okay, they've taken that. What's next? They got bow hunting in SA. What state's next? What they get us down to 4 firearms? Is 2 next? Is 1 next? Where does it stop? Is the question. I think we in South Australia are the next to go to the polls, and I think everyone needs to take a big look at what firearms policies the people they're voting for have, and make sure you're voting for someone who has a good firearms policy and is gonna continue to allow us to do what we want, because at the end of the day, that's it. They allow us to do it, and there's no real option to change that, but we can make sure that we put the people in place to make sure that we can keep doing what we love.
Do we have a figure of how many shooters there are in Australia? Licensed shooters in Australia?
37,000.
Sorry?
I think it was 937,000.
I think somebody posted some stats on their Instagram. I think it's just over 1 million. It's actually gone down since 96.
So we've got 1 million shooters.
People, so in different states like WA, you have to have a license for each firearm you own. So when you own multiple, that builds up the firearms licensing numbers when they do it. So I do believe it's just under. when you take that into account.
Right.
943,000 as of August 2025.
943,000.
Own a total of 4 million guns. Well, one of the things you shared today,
Okay.
talking about what Jason just said about the Lebanese guys not going into the shop.
Yep. So I wasn't going to go into that, but yep, I'll go into that. Yeah, it's very disappointing to see the hunting community at the moment um, spreading hate on the Muslim community in the hunting community. We have a very rich, very knowledge base, people that put so much time and effort into the hunting community. Everyone here knows Cad's Huntress. It's yeah, people like her. She does these. People like her. She goes um, courses through SSAA, and she's getting attacked from people within inside our community, people that run hunting, not just Facebook groups, but actual hunting groups have been sending her hateful messages because she is a proud Muslim woman. And it's disgusting. It's not on. We should call out these types of people to their face. Not make a deal about it on social media, but message to these people because without people like Tads in the hunting community who are bringing outsiders in, she's done more for women in hunting than anybody I've met. Um, I haven't met Tads, but I've podcasted with her and spoke to her plenty of times. But yeah, it's just very, very disappointing to see how hateful the hunting community is, especially in a time where we need to be together.
Is Cad's a what is it? Permanent resident of Australia, or she's on a visa?
She's Aussie born.
She is Aussie born. Okay. Because I was going to say, if they do bring in you can't get one while you're on a visa, if she was on a visa, it'd be good to actually talk to her about what effect this would have on her down the line if they bring that through.
Is a Kiwi fella, lived here for 20 years, married an Aussie woman, got kids. They're saying unless he's a security guard, he can't have a gun.
Wow.
He's unfortunately still got the accent, but he's more Aussie than I.
Yep.
It's just they haven't thought this through. Rushed policy creates unintended consequences. We've seen it before.
Correct.
We're going to see it again.
But you've got someone like Mins whose face is in the media. Yeah, Mins is in the media screaming and yelling what he's going to do and what he wants to change, yet we've got belt-fed magazines in guns. You've got, what was the other one he talked about? There was another one he had complete disinformation about. Yet they want to bring all these changes in laws. I don't get how they can do that without consultation.
If there's one law that I'm okay with him bringing in, it's the banning of the belt-fed shotguns. He can have that one.
I think we can accept that. No one can buy 40 mil grenades anyway to put in a belt-fed. So
it just goes to show who we're dealing with. Belt-fed shotguns. I mean, when's that been available? Shit, I'm 44, but I'm like, I don't even remember that being before 1996. I don't even know what guns even make that sort of thing. So I'm like, this is what we're dealing with, an idiot that doesn't know what he's talking about. It's just crazy, man. But if you're seeing anyone too, I just tell people, if you're seeing anyone, there's a couple of guys, I haven't posted about it. I was going to, but I thought it's not going to help. We've even got people up north from one of these Hunter Valley clubs up there, if anyone's up that way, already selling us out, saying we don't even need 5 guns. And I'm like, just tell your friends not to do that, guys. I mean, I'm sure anyone here, they're not doing that, which is good. But why anyone from a club out there saying that sort of stuff is just not helping at all, man, at all.
Well, I think the other one
we need to stick together.
Mins was talking about high-capacity firearms.
Well, he was talking about high-risk weapons.
Show us
high risk as well, yeah.
What are you deeming as a high-risk weapon? Any weapon could be deemed as high risk. It depends with the nut behind the stock, doesn't it?
You can jump in a semi-trailer.
That's correct.
Semi-trailer
That's what he has.
A higher risk than a firearm.
And it comes back
one of the things to look at is the Weapons Prohibition Act of '98, where they're going to relook at knives and things like that. But it's starting off with guns, and they've slipped that in there. But where's again the line on that? any bladed weapon, like could that be extended towards broadheads for your archery gear? Like where like that's like if they do that,
100%.
you could effectively take away bow hunting and rifle hunting in one fell swoop. So there's no hunting at all. Like
100%. And Minns has come out and said he's going to remove recreational hunting as a genuine reason to own firearms. So they've targeted bow hunting in South Australia already. We've already seen that. What's to stop this government doing the same thing?
I think the benefit we have, Tobias,
I put
down
that
here in
video up the other
Victoria.
day of what is actually recreational hunting, because I hadn't considered it from a legal terminology standpoint, and it doesn't mean that we do it as fun, like just for fun. It's not that. It was a split between you either do it for work or you do it for recreation. Just to remove that as a genuine reason wipes out so many New South Wales shooters. I don't know what the numbers are, but
The benefit
the
we have
scary
here
thought
in
on that
Victoria.
is,
Sorry, Max.
no,
The
you're right,
benefit
keep
we have in
going.
Victoria, mate, is we've got the Game Management Authority. So every year they release harvest data on deer shot by us hunters on public land, and they're providing the numbers to prove that we are an effective management tool. We're not a fully effective management tool in the numbers of sambar deer because they seem to breed like mice, and I can never find the mongrel things. But it's the thing about it. It's a government agency is releasing these figures and data every year. So if they want to argue it, you could go to those sorts of regulatory bodies that you have in your states and go, what are the harvest data for us as hunters from last year? And use that as a means to prove that hunting is a general and it should be considered a capable method for obtaining a firearms license.
I just want to say, what happens to all the farmers that rely upon recreational hunters in New South Wales and Queensland to keep their pigs under control? How many fox
well,
numbers?
that's when you get the
rabbit
government
numbers,
from
deer
local land
numbers?
services to take hold, and they hire their government people to do all the shooting from the helicopters and stuff. So they're just bloody scratching themselves on the back.
There's not going to be money for that after they spend 15 billion buying back the guns.
Yeah, true.
Whereas
one thing that I had to say to my little chat group, who keeps trying to talk? Go, Zach. No, you go.
Unfortunately, the Invasive Species Council has come out against recreational hunters as well, saying that they believe in a 2 to 4 gun limit, as well as caliber limit of 308 in the last week as well. So having the Invasive Species Council jack off, that's not me butchering it, but it is a very unfortunate name, but suits. Um, it's just very unfortunate that they've come out as well. People that are supposed to be pro getting introduced and feral animals off of the landscape have come out against recreational hunters, saying that they agree with these proposed laws. And like was said earlier, the Greens have also been pushing for no one within suburbia to own firearms. They're looking at keeping firearms in a safe place like a gun club, not being able to store them at your own home address. And there's a bunch of other things being floated around like that as well, which is just horrifying. Like, where are criminals going to go? They're going to go to a gun club that houses everyone's guns because they know that's where they're going to be. At least private citizens, they're keeping them in the house and they don't know unless the media, like WA, releases home addresses in a big map again.
Look, I have no doubt that the Invasive Species Council, the Greens, Animal Libs, they could all write a very impressive report on the taste differences between Ajax and Windex, but there should not be people involved with making decisions on a subject they know nothing about, no experience with, but act like they do.
It comes
One thing
back
I'd
to
like to see is consultation with community. And my prediction is, I haven't been through this before. My prediction is what's going to happen on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is they're going to dump 100 laws on us, and we'll all go into hysteria because they'll all be wild. And then over the course of the next 6, 8, 12 months, however long it takes to come in, We'll rein a few of those back in. They'll lose a few of them, and by the end of it, we're going to have some of them stick, and it won't be fun. But it just the rushed lack of consultation from people that don't know the difference between magazines and clips and all the terminology they should. It's the wrong people to make the decisions. Why not, say, hey, look, we'd like to change the firearms laws because of what's happened. Let's all talk about it for 6 to 8 to 12 months and see if we can find some sort of happy medium. Obviously, we don't want to see things change, but
How about we wait for the investigation to happen, and then the coronial investigation, and then be guided by the coroner's findings, who is more independent than this supposed panel that they've put together to consult with, that didn't happen to have anyone from the firearms industry on it, just coincidentally.
Can I ask, from a layman's background there, Tobias, you having the background within the industry back in the years ago, what's a coronial inquest going to do for the benefit of hunters and shooters in changing laws or introducing laws or backing laws off? How would that affect the everyday bloke that wants to go out and shoot?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's going to benefit anyone. It's just the coroner has different powers to a criminal investigation. So a coroner can ask different questions, can direct people to answer questions, can examine evidence differently. So basically, the idea of the coronial would be that the coroner would then come out with some recommendations rather than trying to find guilt or innocence. They can come out with some recommendations about what has actually happened and what they might think is going to change. So, for example, a child death, they would investigate that and they would say maybe it's because of this particular product that was in the cot with the child or something like that, and therefore they'd recommend it be banned or changed or something along those lines. So it could be a benefit for shooters and hunters to wait for that. And again, post 96, what was one of the first things that Johnny Howard did? Stop the coronial inquest in the Port Arthur.
Yep.
So, yeah, it could go either way. Like, there's no guarantee it's going to be a benefit. But that would be how you would approach this situation from an evidence-based perspective rather than this knee-jerk type reaction.
One thing I'm worried about is firearms law legislation rarely, or I don't know that it's ever gone backwards. So once it's been put in, it doesn't go backwards. Whether it was right or wrong, once it's in, it's hard to revert.
No, and that's the big thing too, that people need to understand, the whole of us need to understand, is that once we lose, like you said before, we don't have a right. We're not America. We don't have a Second Amendment. Everything that we're afforded is freedom. And once you lose that freedom, it never comes back. So even if the government is wrong, they won't change it. They will never take it backward steps. They'll just change it and progress it forward slightly.
So something like the firearm laws being changed, they can actually be forced through Parliament, or do they have to actually sit for a debate and then later on down the track, can it be, I think the word's rescinded, can it be brought back upon debate again or not?
I think the big issue is there enough people to debate it?
So if there isn't, my understanding is if there isn't enough dissent within either house, if there isn't enough objection to it, then it doesn't have to go through a debate. So they can put it up for vote, and if it's unanimous or the majority, I think it has to be over 70%. But whatever it is, if it gets through the vote, then it just goes through. So this is my understanding is in New South Wales, you've got the lower and the upper house, and this bill that they're going to present has to go through both first of all. So this is why it's still important for people to be emailing, calling and writing politicians to say to them that this is going to cost you in the long run. It's going to cost you votes in the long run unless you object to this. So they need, and unfortunately the Minns' party has a majority power there at the moment, so it's going to require his own party members to go against him.
Yes, something that was said that was very, very good there is emailing your local MPs, state and like your local and federal MPs, emailing your police minister, emailing your police commissioner, your premier, as a state bound. So our police commissioner actually came out the other day on a radio interview saying that um, laws are sufficient and that the process that we go through here in South Australia to get a firearms license and then apply for firearms is sufficient enough. So that's one benefit if things aren't being brought through on a federal level. But yeah, the only way we can get politicians to speak for us is to email them in numbers and not just a generic email. Put it in your own words. If you're like me, very dyslexic, I write a rough email into ChatGPT and tell it to fix it, make all the grammar, spelling, everything, make it flow better, and then also tell it that this is going to an MP, so also include what it needs to meet the standards that the MPs will actually sit down and consider as an email and then reach out to you. Going around at the moment, sign them and also use. So we've got a bunch of different shooting organisations that are sharing different. Just sign them all. We need these shooting organisations to work together. Like I said about WA, they need to put their egos aside and work together. It doesn't matter what discipline of shooting you do. We have to put our egos down, email every MP, use every contact you can, get your wife, your dad, your mum, your uncle, your auntie, everybody to email. I did 5 emails the other night with assistance of ChatGPT. It took me 5 minutes to get those emails out. It is not a hard thing to do at the moment. It's not a hard thing to personalize them. It's something that we need to do.
Adding on to that, people in the community who, if you've got the energy, like we'll circle Cads back into this, if you got the energy to write a hateful letter, buddy, pegging her out, like she's a lovely woman, I consider her family. We go hunting at least once a year together. If you got the energy to beat on her, who's a big supporter and advocate for all things hunting and firearms related, get bugger off with that energy attacking on the people that are doing good and focus on doing the emails for the MPs. Like, put the energy where it needs to go, not where it's going to divide us.
If you can
And
It's
complain
not a
on
time. It's not a time for hate.
No, it's not.
complain on social media, you've got the time to write an email, whether it's through ChatGPT or just write it yourself. And if you're complaining on social media or complaining in person about how these firearms laws are going to affect you, and you do not write to your federal, state, police minister, police commissioner, premier, whoever you need to send those emails to, you don't deserve to have firearms at the end of the day because you aren't fighting for your passion. You aren't fighting for your right to own firearms. So I don't want to hear any complaining from anybody that's not me.
And with the emails too, I've heard people say that, well, the responses have been coming through mixed from the people they're emailing, but one of the main themes is they're not responding to cut and paste emails. So when I use GPT, I say things like, this is an emotional topic for me. This affects my livelihood. Please add the right amount of emotion using Australian English, Australian language, and give me 10 different varieties of this email. And then it does it for you. And then I spit that out. I've done that. Just to update on the petitions, the 2 petitions, because people seem to forget or miss the fact there's 2. There's one for the Legislative Assembly, is currently at 73,884 signatures. Sorry, that's the lower house. And the upper house one is at 50,708. So those links for those will be in the show notes for this when it comes out, this episode. But keep signing. We shut down their website. The amount of people logging in to sign over the last 72 hours has shut down and slowed down Parliament's own website capacity, which is incredible.
Just New South Wales people. That's not Australia
Resident.
wide. That's New South Wales residents. So that's amazing to see those numbers. But unfortunately, those two petitions should have exactly the same amount of signatures on them.
So I think one of the other things that we need to get across to the entire Australian population is that if we do have this gun buyback, where do they think the funding for that is going to come? And how much is it going to cost? They've estimated it. I read things between 1 billion and 15 billion. Where do the people of Australia think that the funding for this is going to come? It's going to have to come out of everybody's pockets. It's the shooters are not going to be paying for this on our own. It's going to be an increase in the Medicare levy, some other form of tax, something. Albanese's not going to sell his assets and fund it privately, is he?
I think the thing is with that, there's so many things that even $1 billion could make so much of a difference in so many things in Australia. The homeless, there's a number of things and you say 15 billion. Why aren't we putting that towards anti-terrorism? Why aren't ASIO and the others getting back to full staff and actually focusing on protecting our country instead of trying to take away the rights of our countrymen?
I was going to say too, one of the bad parts about it too is this NCAT part of it. I'm hoping that gets knocked on the head very early too. I'm not sure if you guys spoke about it before I logged on, but apparently what happened was this guy got a license, applied for a license in 2015, didn't get the photo, applied in 2020. As we all know, mate, it doesn't take 3 years to get a license. So I'd say what's happened is, it's a wild guess, but this is what most people are saying, is that he applied for it. They knew something was up with this guy. Obviously, they tried to reject him, and then he took him to the tribunal and won, and they gave him the gun. So he got the license. So that needs to be knocked on the head. I'm hoping at least, I know the Greens are our enemies, but I'm hoping they at least, because they're normally on civil liberties, they normally are okay. I hate them, like all of us sitting here, let's get that clear, but I'm hoping they knock that on the head. I mean, otherwise the cops will be just going, no, we're going to start looking at no. Could be any reason. And then who's going to spend 5-10 grand going to court to try and fight it?
Whereabouts in any other democracy do you not have the right to appeal a decision by a government department? Because that's no longer a democracy.
Exactly. Yeah, it's shocking. I couldn't believe I was reading that, man. I go, who does this guy think he is, man? Just no democratic process. You can't go to NCAT. That's the cheapest and most effective option to challenge government decision. I'm hoping that gets knocked on the head first, followed by take your pick, really. You know what I mean? The limits obviously got to go. Straight pull, got to go. There was lever actions. It's all on the chopping block, man. So basically all we have is basically bolt actions and not over shotguns for playing target. That's pretty much it, isn't it, really? What else is left?
Yeah, it's kind of annoying because my old man's primary producer, so he's got the Cat C, and he still has the old Ruger 1022. So how is it that he can still have that? He doesn't touch it, barely gets used because he prefers a bolt action because it's more accurate. So how is it he can still hang on to that? But a bloke that goes out west pig shooting with a lever action 30-30 and does a good job doing it, why does he get to lose that? Because it might be able to shoot a bit quicker if you can crank it hard enough.
Again, the laws are being based on emotion, not evidence, not common sense, because of the images on the news and what the government thinks is what the people want to hear. And a majority of people don't actually understand firearms and how they work and the differences between them. So for them, it makes sense because they see these horrible images and hear the news article and think the government's doing a good thing because they're banning this. And we saw that exactly the same thing in '96 where, they banned pump-action shotguns but didn't ban pump-action rifles. Not that either of them should have been banned, but why choose one over the other? It didn't make sense then, and it's not going to make sense now, unfortunately.
Well, that'll be a large group of people that are impacted.
Unfortunately, when it comes to the people who pick up firearms laws, their knowledge of firearms comes from watching movies like John Wick and Terminator. It's like if someone made all of our car laws based on watching Tokyo Drift and the other Fast and the Furious movies. It's absolutely ridiculous that the people that are making these laws have absolutely no clue on what's going on.
We have a demographic down here in Victoria of hound hunters, a large group of people that do it regularly, and a lot of those guys run pump action rifles. So this will be something that will, if it comes into effect in Victoria, it's going to change a lot of people in the way they hunt. So, sorry, I had dropped out earlier, so I'm back.
You're back. Can we just see if Luke can talk? He's been trying to play with some microphone issues. Can you hear us, Luke?
Like Jason said earlier, with the banning of those sorts of things, like the wedge-tail industries, they will get wiped out. Australian sporting agencies, all the importers of those button release and the Templeton style shotguns and rifles and that, like, that's a whole industry. That's people's livelihood. They're employing 10, 15 people, like, at least, at a minimum, to run their operations. Then all those people need to find new jobs. Like, how do you recover from that?
Yeah, they won't. That's the thing. And that's what we saw post 96. A lot of gun shops closed down. A lot of places went out of business. And the people that have designed and are importing those guns did so because of the laws that were brought in back then. So they're compliant with the laws. And now the government just wants to keep moving the goalpost until eventually we're going to be down to slingshots.
No,
Has anyone heard of anything happening? Yeah, well, they are illegal. Has anyone heard of anything happening since this event? Like, have the police come and done anything, taken anything? And I'll give you an example. I had a interesting chat with a contract shooter. The cops turned up on his door and requested. They literally said, "We will be there at 1 o'clock," not the old "Can we come?" And they forcibly took under a temporary warrant his 2 legal suppressors, and said, just due to the current situation, we're removing them from the community. And he had nothing but to give them. Any word on that, Max, on your side of things?
What state was that in?
New South.
Okay, interesting. I'm in South Australia. I am an owner of suppressors for urban work that I do. I haven't heard anything about it. But yeah, that's quite interesting that they've done that. I don't know why they would do that and what law they've done that under, but yeah, that's a strange one. I haven't heard of anything like that happening, but
I just asked him, were they actually real policemen, or were they?
Yeah, that's very strange. Like, I mean, if they're going to do that, it's like, well, why aren't they just taking your whole inventory of guns if they're expecting, like, what's a suppressor going to do? The terrorists didn't have suppressors. And why would they use them? They're trying to cause as much emotional damage as they can, as well as physical. The loud gunshots are a plus for them. It causes it's absolutely horrible to hear, like, when you watch the videos and stuff. And yeah, I'm dumbfounded, honestly.
Have you heard of anything being taken, Chase, or anything?
Nah, man, not from anyone. Nah, just get told people to. So just keep it, sign off with, keep calm, stay calm, obey the law. Even though sometimes you don't feel like you want to say that, but that's what you have to do. You just got to keep them, keep the sharks at bay, so to speak. So that's a culture. It's a political. It's not cultural. It's not. We can sit here and talk about what's not right and what's not this, but it's purely political, man. Nothing more, nothing less, and it's a different fight. It's not a cultural fight. It's a different one. That's where I think we pull up short a lot of the time, man.
One thing they've removed from us is our right to protest too, and that's a very clever timing choice. I was in a chat the other day, and I won't say who said it, because you probably won't want it said out loud, but he said they haven't removed your right to walk down both sides of the road legally as a large group, but as soon as you step onto the road, you're in trouble. So they were, politely suggesting that might be an option, but I definitely don't recommend that sort of thing happening yet.
Yeah,
The scary
It's
thing
kind
is
of
with that is
unfortunately, with protests, that's our biggest form of publicity. If things do go to a protest form and they allow a protest in New South Wales, um, we have to be legal, respectful, and just anyone with bad behavior, call them out straight away. Like that has to go because that would be our largest public gathering, and everyone has to do the right thing. Because as soon as we've seen with protests in the past, with all these other issues, as soon as bad eggs show up, start causing issues, it just tarnishes the whole name. Like we have to be smart about this. And as angry as we are, like I've joked around about, we need to block off, all the cities with trucks and make a big stand. Jokes, obviously, but like we're all emotionally upset about this because it is our lives. Like it's not just a part of football on the weekend or soccer on the weekend. Each one of us sitting here right now, hunting, shooting, and the outdoors is who we are.
There was even some suggestion about if there is to be a march, whether it be a dress code or something like that. Like, I think the bigger boys, the bigger players that would usually organise a march are nearly reluctant to put their name to it too. We all think it's a great idea, but no one wants to put that name forward and say, well, this is the SSAA march, because then anything negative falls back on them. So that, I don't think someone needs to have the kahunas to step up and do it. I don't think it'll be the Wild Origins Australia march, but
I was just about to suggest.
it's interesting with the whole, like with the SSAA, like there's been a bit of a divide there too. It's like which organisation do we back up to push the fight for? Like, do you back Australian Recreational Union? Do you back SSAA? And I was like, no, you shouldn't back them because they did this and that back then. You shouldn't back these ones because they're only fresh. They don't have enough bloody members to get anything across. But like, I don't know how to handle that side of it, but I think support all of them and whoever gets a bit of a lead up and everyone back them up on it.
one doing better than none.
But they've done this on purpose, man. Right? It's obvious why they've done it, and then a lot of people are going to be. I mean, I'm on holidays for a week. I mean, you guys too. Most people are on holidays for most of January, so they've done this on purpose, man. Because they know people are going to be away. Whatever the situation, just going to put it on, man. So there's no beefs with anyone at this point. We just got to get it done the best way we can.
To your point, Cody, I think it would be great if everybody had the the budget to share the love across a number of different associations and unions and groups and so forth. But if you don't, then definitely do some research, have a look at who is out there, really pushing the whole narrative, not just a self-serving narrative.
Yeah, some of our larger organisations have enormous kitties already in the back. I mean, obviously that's not designed to be used for this, but what's the point in having it? There's one Sydney gun club, Sydney hunting club with several 100,000 in the bank. What's it for if you can't use it for events like this? I'm not saying, that I'm not putting my money in too, but how many committees, and everyone says, oh, we just need one. If every hunter in Australia, or every shooter in Australia, 947,000, put in $10, we'd have, however many millions of dollars. Yeah, we've already done that. We're already members of how many clubs? Where is that money being spent? Oh, we're working on it in the background. I want to see it in the foreground. One of our major shooting parties, probably hate me for saying it, Shooters, Farmers, Fishers Party. Yeah, they're out there putting some content out. Hire an editor. Put together a classy video that can, reach wide, because it just frustrates me that we've got this financial backing behind these lots of little clubs, or we shouldn't say little, lots of different options, but it's not one of them is stepping up that I can see, or doing what we're doing here, coming together that I can see. I mean, that might be happening in the background, but let's get some unity behind some of these larger clubs.
I was going to say, surely there's got to be one guy out there, or two, or three, or 10 that have just got the big bucks, man. Where are they? Where are the Clive Palmers or the, I don't know, who cares? I don't care where the money comes from at this point. Where are they? You know what I mean? Like, you're not the first one to say that. There's a lot of stuff going out there where people just, it's all right if they want to be on the internet, but they're just not, like you said, the videos that you were just referring to. Like, I spoke to Alex. He called me the other day from Shooters, Fishers and Farmers. And I said, well, once they know you're talking to me, they're probably not going to want you to. But I said, I don't care, man. I'll share the stuff. Doesn't bother me. Let's just get it done, man. Whatever's gone's gone. Let's move on. And I said, you've got to get them out there. But, some people even talking to me going, the editing's not there. And it's they're looking down when they're talking. And I said, we've got to make it professional if we possibly can. So at least as best as we possibly can. I know it's time sensitive, but try your best. Bit of editing, just going to make it a lot better. Be prepared. But I get, how can you be prepared when this gets thrown on you for 5 days before Christmas? So.
Is there an option for a High Court appeal to the laws in New South Wales?
I can ask ChatGPT.
Well, I'm just thinking, like I do remember there were funds set up at times for further legal costs. So if this legislation does come in, is pushed through, perhaps people are keeping things in reserve for paying big legal fees and trying to challenge it that way. Because let's face it, that's realistically the only option that people have.
Goes with these communities. Everyone wants to be the name behind it, but no one wants to be the face. There's a lot of stuff going out behind closed doors, and we've seen that with bow hunting here in South Australia. Everything happened behind closed doors, and there was no real face. Apart from Wild Origins, they put out a lot of face stuff, but everything behind from the actual org themselves, they kept everything tight knit and not discussed because they didn't want to give their hand away, which I personally think that's not a great thing. I think we need to put stuff out publicly. Our organisations need to put stuff out publicly, show the community what they are doing, be vocal about it, and that way we can get the numbers behind them to be able to fight these laws. Because my personal belief, we should not give a single firearm. Any firearm that's taken away from law-abiding firearm owners is too many. There's something that's been floated around. If firearms are getting taken away because you have too many, the limit's 4 or whatever the limit they're proposing is going to be, find a friend that has 2, give them 2 of your rifles. Find another friend that has only 1, give them another one. Rather than getting these firearms destroyed by these buybacks, give them to other hunters so that the numbers are still out there and we are not giving up a single firearm to be destroyed. Because any firearm that's destroyed in this buyback is too many.
To answer your question, Tobias, yes, you can challenge, this is obviously AI, not me, you can challenge legislation changes in the High Court if you believe federal law is unconstitutional or beyond parliamentary powers. The High Court won't veto laws, but can declare them invalid if they breach the Constitution, like implied freedoms or power limits, making them futurely ineffective. So it needs to infringe on implied freedoms, like free political communication, or exceed the Parliament's constitutional powers. I mean, we all agree with this being those options. Be interesting to see.
It's got the money to do it, man. That's the problem. You know what I mean? Not only here, as far as like you said, freedom and constitutional things. So they choose what they hear too, so they can just say interested. If it's political, it could be a problem too. Sometimes. Who's good? And some people even say, "Listen, I don't want to go down this path." But so if we can have 10 guns and you have to get a membership, well then who stands to profit by that? You know what I mean? I think we've all got half an idea about what I'm talking about here. So having to go to the range and what I'm talking about, double SWA, let's be honest. So are they going to fight for this, or are they going to be pumping their fists saying, great for us? You know what I mean? We've got now a shit ton of money coming. Like, it's not about that for me, man. Never has been. So I'm sure the guy sitting here is exactly the same, mate. Don't make money off this, man. So, they're going to do the thing too, mate. Suffer for the consequences.
I think one of the, let me turn up. I think one of the hard parts, Jason, you were saying before, why haven't we got big money backers? I think the one question they're going to ask is, what's in it for me?
They're gunsmiths, man, just doing the right thing, man. Like, we're all here giving up our time because we want to be, not because, we're making 200 grand a year or $1 million a year or even 10 grand a year. You know what I mean? It's just because we love this sport, man. And it's been ripped away from us, man. I just never thought I'd see this in my lifetime, dude. Even with WA stuff, I just thought, they're a bit funny over there. There's probably something in the water over there. I don't know, but I just started thinking, I thought never coming here, man. And I'm having these debates with people. And, I go hunting, and 3 months later, I'm sitting here with I'm not sure how many guys from New South Wales here, but I've just never seen anything this bad, man. I've warned about this for years, man, and people disregard it. And I want to be complacent, man. We definitely want to be complacent.
I think there are some organisations and wealthy backers out there who just don't want to have their name or business at the forefront of this movement. So, and that's a little bit of a insider information. So there is money behind it. There is some political sway that can be applied, but it just needs to be, the pressure needs to be put in the right place.
I suppose anything positive, anyone that's going to back it is going to be tagged as a negative because they're trying to promote more guns in the community, aren't they? Or the media is going to portray it as they're trying to keep as many guns as they can in the community, where we're just trying to stick within the laws we've got and look at the actual real issue of the problem, not the guns in the community, but what caused the issue to start with.
It's annoying too because like we all know each other through reputation or know each other personally, but like majority of the community, we're not bad people. Like, and it's hard for the media to see that. Like they don't see, like we had recently Boars for a Cause. Like that was a charity driven event where bow hunters went out and shot boars and raised money for, got kids bloody toys for Christmas at the hospital. Like Brett Meldrum's currently running a giveaway for a chital hunt. Yes, that's all hunter driven, but that money's going towards boys from the bush. And, you know, just like if you got rid of the general reason for hunting as a reason for a firearm, like how's that affecting rural communities? Like my hometown of Oberon, we're surrounded by public land hunting, and nearly like during the winter months and during the rut, like if I go through town, there'll be hunters in camo walking up to the servos, but get ready to go out, or they've just had success and they're going to the pie shop. Like that's, if they can't do that anymore, then there's no income going into my local town, and it's like, and that'll affect elsewhere as well.
Cody, the problem there is that the government recognises that we spend our disposable income on this hobby. So if they remove that hobby, we still have this disposable income. So we will then spend that on something else, whether it's motorbikes or fishing or playing the pokies or sitting at the pub and getting drunk all day. Either way, they still get their tax out of us because we are geared to spend that disposable income. And that this has been explained. I think Clark McGee was the one that quoted it once upon in one of his videos. So the government doesn't care that a regional centre will die if there's no hunters going through it. I mean, look at Dargo. That place there would probably shrivel up and die if they removed and stopped deer hunting in Victoria. The government doesn't care about that, because at the end of the day, the tax dollars are still going to come to them just through a different source.
Oh, but they won't get my money because I'll leave.
Yeah, I'm going to New Zealand. New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand.
Come with me to New Zealand.
Unfortunately, the New Zealand lawmakers are looking to follow Australian laws. Whatever comes out of this, there's already talks that they're going to follow.
Zach, you're going to make me cry, mate.
Right, we can all go to Texas.
Texas.
We bring Texas to Australia.
Maybe live. Lady Liberty over there.
We have to leave. You know what I mean? Which, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, people ringing me saying, "Oh, mate, they're looking at Florida real estate already," and I'm like, "Why do we have to leave our friends, family, loved ones because of what's happening with these bastards?" You know what I mean? Like, it makes me sick. I swear to God.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but look at this, man. They're just ruthless. These people, like, just ruthless, cold-hearted. Don't care about us, and we just need a miracle, man. Come by Monday or Tuesday, man. Hopefully, listen. He can have his belt fed. And he can have his maybe Australian citizenship, even though, and it was rightly one of the fellas mentioned, there's a couple of Kiwi guys that are freaking out. They're going to lose their licenses. So, and I totally agree, man. That sucks. But, they're not going to accept nothing. They're not going to accept nothing. We know that. So I think Dodge said it at the start. Hopefully we just try and water it down to some degree. What we're going to be successful in watering down, if anything, at this stage, if they just ram it through, the whole thing could go through now. That's how bad things could get.
If the government is anything like in their negotiation, it's a typical tactic where you aim high, you come in low, high, and then you settle somewhere in the middle. So this may be shock and awe tactics where they say we're going to aim for 4, and then through argument or debate or whatever, they'll settle on 6 or 8 or whatever. Regardless of that, though, it is still a loss of freedom, because the reality is that up until this point, we have, for a majority, been law-abiding hardworking citizens of this country, and regardless of how many firearms we own, it's now come down to two people who circumvented certain parts of the system, and there were other government failings and lack of communication between state and federal agencies that has resulted in this catastrophe. And coming back to what was said at the start, this is not a firearms issue. This is a terrorist attack. And that needs to be highlighted throughout the media, and all the politicians need to be reminded of that.
I want to play devil's advocate. I want to move forward a little bit into the hypothetical future. We're allowed 5. We'll just stick with the number. What's going to happen to the people that say no?
I would suggest
Oh man, so they'll be doing the rounds, man. So
that's exactly right. Pre-96, we didn't have registration of individual firearms, so they had no idea how many guns were out there, who owned how many, blah blah blah. Now, since compulsory registration, they know who has this number. They know exactly where they are. So if you don't comply, I can guarantee you there'll be a moratorium time frame, and once we get past that, if you don't comply, your door will be kicked in, your weapons license will be revoked. There'll be probably charges laid. It'll
like a terrorist.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to see it?
Do I think we're going to see it?
Do you think people would do that? Stand for it that strongly?
I think there's potential for people to do that. Maybe I shouldn't say this on air, but I do know, the sale of 4-inch PVC pipe post 96 went up exponentially. Just saying.
People are saying it, but I wouldn't say that publicly, obviously. But a lot of people say people say that too. But then when it comes down to it, man, they generally don't do it, man. You know what I mean? I wouldn't do it either, man. No one wants to afford it. Look how law-abiding. No one wants to lose their license. You know what I mean? But listen, this probably is a part way around it, I guess. If not for me so much, I haven't got any kids and all that. If you're married, get your wife a license. If you've got 18-year-old kids, get them a license. If they have one. That way, at least if you've got 15 or 20, you can spread the load amongst family members. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of guys ringing me, single, no kids. There's no way for them to do it, man. So there's no way to get out of it. And you've got one guy, I was spoken the other day, man, he's got 350 guns, man. Worth a lot of money, a lot of heirlooms, like Winchesters, man. And he's freaking out, man. He's no kids. His wife passed away. What's he going to do, man? He's beside himself, man. I said, just calm down, man. It's all you can do. I know you're angry. I've gone through spates have been really angry, man. Walking around huffing and puffing and swearing and just got to calm down, man. You got to calm down, you know what I mean? Because it's not going to help anyone.
Yeah, look, even I mean, that's an extreme example. 350. I do know a guy that's got over 100, and they're all very high end firearms. So he's beside himself as well. I mean, we're in Queensland, so we may not be affected at this stage. It's only probably a matter of time. But even if we were, if they said 4, okay. So in my example, I've got a 16-year-old son. I've got 2 firearms here that I want to gift him, that he hunts with at the moment. He does have a Queensland miner's license, weapons miner's license. So it's legal for him to hunt with those firearms. But I want to gift him those when he turns 18, transfer them to his license. My father has also just gifted me 2 of his firearms because of his age and impairment, he's no longer able to hunt. So he wants to see them used. So there's 2 more firearms that have very unique sentimental value to me. So even without my own firearms, there's my 4 already. So I don't feel that that's an excessive amount. Where do we go from here? And this is what the government is failing to take into consideration. The likes of Minns and the comments that he comes out and makes around, why do you need these? Why do you need this many? Why do you need these? Blah blah blah. You've got no perspective, and you're not interested in hearing our side of the story and consulting with the industry or any of the hunting community. So you're never going to understand.
Couldn't do anyone either. I don't think he's even talking to anyone. I don't know if you guys have heard any different, but he won't talk to anyone from the industry, mate. Period. Zip. Nada. Nothing. So I don't know if you guys have heard the same thing, but like I said, I don't know if you guys do. When I just hunt, I shoot plays. I used to have my pistols, but I don't anymore because I didn't have time. But You know, I mean, shooting, gong shooting, people do PRS, they shoot clays, they do a lot of different stuff, man. Like, how is 4 even going to do anything, man? Like, it's just, I don't know, man. That could be a thing. You don't even, thank God they just got hunting off. But I mean, look at all the rest of the stuff on the film, man. Like, I was talking to Nate from Edge of the Outback. You know, like he got a bunch of PCP air rifles. They're on the list now. You can't even have those. It looks like the old Springer could be gone too, depending on how they shoot. You know, like air rifles for God's sake. I mean, God, this is terrible. Like I've just never seen anything like it, man.
Absolutely crazy. Like,
I was just talking about Edge of the Outback. He's shared the draft bill, and I've just got it here in front of me. It's called, believe it or not, the Terrorism and Other Legislation Amendment Bill. So we're going to ban air rifles under a terrorism bill.
What an insult! What an insult!
Yeah. That just shows the mentality of it, doesn't it? It's
And the lack of research that's been involved in it too before they've come out with these allegations.
Can skip those steps.
I mean, we're probably all a bit pissed off too, eh? Like, I know I've said it, man. I mean, how do you guys feel about, you know, we're a conflict from nowhere near us, man? It's nothing to do with us at all. I've said it before. Yeah, they've got some problems, but this is their fight, man. Head back home and have that fight over there, mate. Like, this has nothing to do with us. And we're all sitting here in this chat having to talk about all this stuff, and it's nothing to even do with us. This is like a conflict from the 3 corners of the way around the world. Like, what is going on? Like, crazy.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast, Jason. Yeah.
Well,
sometimes I just feel defeated, mate. See this stuff, I think, what I do, you know, like, I don't want to get negative. I'm trying not to, man, but it's like when they just at us constantly, like, you know what I mean? And listen, I'm freely saying, I've got to say it, like, we just have no representation. Yet we've got good political parties and all that, but yeah, listen, the only one that's got the money, let's be honest, is SSAA, and they've, mate, I would say, listen, I don't want to hassle them because I don't want to do it here, but yeah, there's some good people there. I'm friends with some of them now. Still to this day, there are some good people. They're in this mess, a lot of it, because they've able to stand up for us, man. You know, I mean, that's just the facts. That's just the truth. You know, like, where are they now? Yeah, they're talking to people, but they don't even have the ear of the government. I mean, he's not talking to anyone. Where are we at? I don't want to lay blame on anyone, man. But back when Ted Drain was in there, it was 1996. I used to watch this guy. He was the head of the SSAA. Strong, direct, to the point. Now we've got weak people running the place, you know, that won't stand up, and they're too scared to say anything, man. It's got to be political, or how bad's it going to look? Like, it's too late for that now, man. They've got to step up. Otherwise, don't think if you're in Queensland or Northern Territory, I mean, they've said good things, these parliamentarians, right now. There's going to be no changes, or they'd have to see what the changes are. But yeah, if we don't think it's coming, we've had 2 states in less than a year that now have possibly going to have, you know, limits on how many you can own. So what's next? Queensland, Victoria. I mean, Jesus, I don't know how Victoria hasn't done it yet. It's crazy down there with Jacinda Allen. So then you saw the bow hunting ban, as Zach said, in South Australia. But there's not much left, is there? And then Tasmania, there's not much left, man. So we've got 2 in a year. That's when they've only got 3 or 4 states to go, plus a couple of territories, and you know, ACT will probably go the same way as well. So maybe the next 2 or 3 years, none of us, we're going to have limits in every single state, you know. So whatever they're trying to do, they've got to step it up now, man. Otherwise, it's 2 other states are watching this going, yep, that's what we're going to do till eventually. And again, all this is relied on. How do you guys feel? All this relied on was someone just doing something stupid with a gun. We've all been sitting here, I guess, probably sitting on our laurels a little bit, you know, just took one shooting, man, and that was it. That's what our whole sport rode on. Just no one doing something bad with a gun. That's we've been, you know, complacent, I guess, you know, and just took that one issue, one thing. Now we're in the shit.
The hard thing is they weren't even Australians, really. Like, you can't sit here and call them Australians. They weren't. And to take this away, I'm angry. I'm angry. I'm really, really angry. But you just got to calm heads prevail. But yeah, I don't know how you all else feel, but yeah, I'm sad. I'm saddened and I'm angry.
Yeah, it's emotional.
People got a call. That's what they listen to. Like, I got on the phone with so many people on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Just said, if 30 seconds, guys, tell them, make sure it's just going to be two or three paragraphs. They're not going to read something that's long. Just 2 or 3 paragraphs. I don't support this. This is going to affect my business. This is going to affect my livelihood. Whatever they need to say at this point, you know what I mean, just to get it over the line and So they're going to read it. Some people are reading 2 or 3 pages. I said, no, they're not going to read that, guys. 1 to 2 to 3 paragraphs at best, short paragraphs. I don't support this. That's it. Move on.
I don't support this, and I will not be voting for you next year. Next time it comes around, they need to know the consequences. We've delved into a lot of things tonight. Lawson's joined us right for the finish. We've covered off a lot of things.
It's
a lot of
typical of
negativity.
Lawton, mate. He shows up when the work's over.
Oh, blisters.
Yeah, it's been here for a while, to be fair.
Hey, Luke's there. Was it the first?
Hey, you can hear me. Holy crap.
As we speak, but he doesn't have any book on him, so it's all right.
Well, Luke's microphone's finally working too at the end of the thing. But I wanted to. I mean, it's nearly 2 hours worth of recording, and we could keep going. I wanted to ask for some final comments from people, but before I do that, I just want to talk about some of the positive things. We've spoken about a lot of the negatives and a lot of things that are probably to come, but just some of the positives for me personally that have come from this, and one of them is this tonight. This unity from all over the nation, from all over the different parts and factions of our community. I'm reluctant to call it a sport because for me it's a lifestyle. It forms who I am. It forms my friends, who I hang out with, where we go as a family, where we choose to buy houses. Is there deer there? It forms my lifestyle. So, it's direct. It's emotional for me. It is something I can't avoid. And I take it to heart personally when I see someone on TV saying we're going to do this, this, and this to firearms owners. And one of the positives majorly for me is this unity that has come from it. There needs to be more of it, but let's just start this conversation, keep this communication open. Jason said, talk to your mates, talk to your pollies, and as a call to action, guys, sign the petitions. Someone said, well, what about this petition? Like, what's actually going to happen? Well, this is the most signatures in a short amount of time a legislative poll has ever seen. This is showing, mass movement, and that's something we didn't have in 96. And I'm hoping it has some way of moving the scale of things right now. So I just want to call for some final comments. I don't know if you can go around the screen. First comments for you, Luke. May as well start with you so that you started and ending at the same time.
Cheers. Sorry for all the technical issues at my end, fellas. I suppose I'd like to comment from a personal and in a sense, a professional perspective. A lot of times in the last week, I've seen the comment posted on social media that cars kill lots of people and we don't ban cars. Now, not necessarily, well, not today, but just literally yesterday, I was cutting a 17-year-old out of a car that was crumpled beyond recognition. And that is my day-to-day bread and butter. That is my profession. So I know firsthand the horrific toll and the ripple effect that has on people and the wider Australian community. And to read those comments and to know how horrifically true they are, and then have that same argument just thrown out the window when it comes to how safe the sport of the use of firearms is in our country, and as a pastime, as a lifestyle, as an occupation, it's disgusting, and it infuriates me no end. And now I'm a latecomer to being a firearms owner. Zach knows a bit of my background where I broke my leg 5 or 6 years ago. Didn't know how much bow hunting I'd be able to do, and how many hills I'd be able to walk. So I thought I might, look into tools that help me reach out a bit further. So I am a latecomer to the firearms scene, but that doesn't change my passion for what it is that it represents and the connection and the cultural heritage that this government wants to, and the governments want to strip away. And that, if any of you saw my recent story in the Wild Deer magazine, that cultural heritage and that connection, be through whatever it is, a firearm or a bow or a spear or whatever, is untangible. And to think that a government or any governments want to just strip that away from us because of the actions of a couple of grubs is just, it just infuriates me, boys. It infuriates me. No end. That's me.
You still there, Dodge? You're frozen.
Yep. No, I'm still here. You want to go next, Tobias?
Yeah, okay. Look, in terms of trying to keep things positive, again, to echo your comments, mate, in that what I've really noticed this time that is different from 96 is the external support that hunting and firearms has received. So there's a lot of commentators out there on their social media, guys and women who have said, I got no dog in the fight because I don't own guns, don't hunt, don't shoot. But the Australian government is so far off track here that it's not funny. So I think a lot of people and a lot of the media are recognising that the government is making this out. They're picking the low-hanging fruit here, and we're the ones that are going to suffer. So in terms of trying to keep it positive, I think that's been really great to see that we are not perceived as the enemy, as these evil people. That hunting is a legitimate pastime, recreation. What it does for us, what it does for our mental health, the food on the table, all of that sort of thing. And that's been really encouraging. So whilst I'm sure we're all going to suffer a loss in some form of further legislation, I do believe that a majority of the community outside of a firearms ownership is with us.
Awesome.
Yeah, very, very similar to the rest. I do like seeing what we're seeing online with the positivity, especially something like Zach posted a few hours before coming on. This is caused by two people that were just, I'm not going to go down that line, but two people that were unfit. This was just missed, and a lot of other stuff that went wrong and has gone wrong. So stay positive, breathe. I know I went into a bit of a state of what's going to happen. I've got a livelihood with this stuff to do with firearms, and I really had a couple of tough days there where I was stressed and so on and so forth. Breathed, I thought about it, going through the process, yes. So all we do is fight now. Send letters, tell your mates. I've told my partner, and she's new to guns, and she's like, I'll get my gun license. I understand what we're doing here. Well, I'll go get it. So, just fight. Tell your mates, fight. Send letters, call. And like Jay said, short, sweet, keep it to the point. And I'm not going to vote for you next time because you haven't done your job. So, that's my final comments. And thanks, Cody, for sorting this out, and Dodge for hosting it.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet, but peace, love, and unity. We all need to stick together. We all need to love each other. And if we don't stick together, we're going to lose this amazing lifestyle.
Yeah, I think it's different this time. I think we'll keep it short too, as I can. I think the people on our side, as Tobias said, I think it's not like 96. I was looking at a bunch of politicians today, like Michaela Cash, just going berserk, man, against Albanese, like just saying these things. The governments are coming out from other states in support. Listen, I wouldn't say support, but I'd say, they do things different there. We're doing different things here. So it's good to see. It's not like 96 where it was bipartisan. The general public see what's going on. Get your friends too. Anyone on social media, like I'm not going to say who, but there's several high-profile people I've not seen anything from in regards to this. Like this is just begs belief how people in different, even if they're in different states, can be in different states, how they've not a single post on this stuff, man. It's just like, get them in if you can. Talk to them if you're seeing anything from pages that aren't sharing. Just say, mate, come on, man. We've got to go together. Otherwise, it's going to be bad for us. So, you know what I mean? Keep it nice and friendly, and let's see how we go.
The magical moustache, Max.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's been wonderful. Obviously, as everyone said, it's for everyone, but feeling the unity of everyone here and all the love going around here is absolutely awesome. And just want to send that out to everyone else who's out there. Call your mates, check in on people. It's going to be a tough start to a new year, but we can only go forward. So let's just keep moving, keep writing letters, keep doing what we've got to do.
Thanks, Max. What about you, Drew?
I think you've all actually covered. I'm not sure if Cam's still on. He said he had to jump ship. But Cam and I both probably sit on the same page as everyone else here on this podcast. Our biggest tagline at the end of our podcast is check on your mates. I think that's one of the most important because even for myself, my wife shoots, my daughters are getting into it. Try to keep that positivity running and seeing the unity, even for us all on this podcast. I mean, Cam and I are new to this, but the unity between us and trying to roll that down the line is something that I think we need to do. And even if this doesn't come off in a negative manner, I think we need to try and continue this within the industry. Across the board between, I know there's big gaps between pistol shooters and rifle shooters or members of different clubs and disciplines and things like that. But if we can all unite and stay as a top united front and keep our voices and keep our reputation intact across the board, then I think we'd become less targeted as such.
I am still here, and I'm just going to say thank you to everybody that's jumped on and had a conversation. It's been a really good conversation, the bits that I've been able to hear, because I've been dropping in and out. But look, I'm encouraging any of my mates to start sending emails to politicians and voice your concerns. So that's all we can really do, unfortunately. That's my feel anyway. And like Drew did say, we use it as, it's not really a catchphrase, it's a genuine thing when we say to check on your mates, and it is a major thing that we need to all do. So thank you, everybody, for the opportunity too.
Absolutely. Thanks heaps, guys.
Well, this opportunity was brought to you by the Cody Gearin Factory. So, Cody, do you want to close us out?
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you for coming on and being part of this. When I put the idea out there, I thought it was going to be a long shot and no one would be too keen on it because, some egos tend to take over, but you've proven me wrong in showing that ego is not part of this debate. New people were worried about coming on, whether they'd be able to make it, but like those of you who have, thank you. And Jason, I know you've copped a fair bit of flack and been bombarded by everyone, but that you found the time to make it on here. Thank you. Luke, I know you got in last minute, but thank you for making it in the end and being part of it. We did have the Hunters Campfire boys, Ian, Mark and Jono, part of it too, but unfortunately conflicting schedules made it that they were unable to be part of this, but I'll thank them anyway for being part of it and being part of the discussions to get this up and going. And huge thank you to Dodge and Wild Origins Australia for hosting and doing all of the logistics side of it. And to those of you listening now, thank you for, whichever podcast feed that you've found this on, because it's getting shared across everyone's. Thank you for listening to this far in, and if you can, share it around and, do what everyone here has asked you to do and email your MPs and do whatever you need to do. And, and unfortunately it's the meant to be the holiday season now, and we're a bit of a negativity, so I'll just wish you all a Merry Christmas, and it's the 21st now, so it's gravy day, so I'll wish you a happy gravy day as well.
Thanks, Cody. Thanks for everyone for jumping on. Two things. Obviously, this podcast is going to go wide, so I feel sorry for people who listen to several of our podcasts because you're going to just get this dumped on all of your platforms, but listen to it twice, 3 times. Listen to it on everyone's channel. But the key is to share it, so this reaches everyone. United we stand is what we've called this episode. I hope it's not the last time we meet together. I hope next time we meet together, it's either hunting or 2, it's celebrating some wins. And I forget who said it, but unity and strength. We're showing it tonight. This is what we're doing, and that is what we need. So thank you to everyone. Thank you for joining us, and stay wild, Australia.